Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. Well, it certainly seems like the time for the Cybercab is near. There's a lot of news and updates to go through today. Now, late last week, the Cybercab made an appearance at the In-N-Out Burger out in California. And if you don't know, this is a big major milestone and tradition for Tesla. It indicates the end of the engineering portion of development and the transition to production. So huge news. Now, in addition to that, with the display of the Cybercab out at Times Square and recent news articles like the one in Bloomberg, we can get an idea of what the Cybercab is going to look like in production. Now, if you remember, 2 months ago on the 1st of September, I showed you this one undergoing wind tunnel testing. At that time, we kind of documented many of the changes that were noticeable from this view. And it looks like all of those changes and more are visible on the final production version. We can get a better idea with some of these other images that are coming out. Now, here you see that the under spoiler of the front bumper has changed, and in addition to that, the line in front of that light bar has also been refined. The lights are also different than what were on the prototype. We do have that orange reflector that's been added on that front lip of the wheel well and that bumper. The cameras were in fact relocated. You compare with the prototype. The mirrors have been added, most likely for regulations to allow street legal operation. The wheel covers appear to be different. We're going to see if that carries over. And finally, of course, the front license plate is now on the front bumper. Moving to the side of the original prototype, we can see what the B-pillar line looked like here and that camera placement in the quarter window. In addition to that, the front fender camera was really close to the opening of the door. If we look at the prototype for production, we can see that the B-pillar has changed, and it looks like it's been reinforced, and that rear quarter window has been changed in size. Also, that front fender camera has been moved away from that door opening line. You can also get an idea here of how that B-pillar has changed. It's possible that it's for structural integrity for crash testing. It's hard to say. Now, the big question is, will it have a steering wheel and pedals? It's been a lot of discussion in the Tesla community. I'll let Elon Musk tell you in a recent interview.
Now, we have a dedicated product, which is the Cybercab, which has no steering wheel or pedals, which are obviously vestigial in an autonomous world. And we start production of the Cybercab in Q2 next year. And we'll scale that up to quite high volume. I think ultimately we'll make millions of Cybercabs per year.
A Cybercab is gorgeous. I told you I'd buy 2 of those if you put a steering wheel in them. And there is a big movement
We're not
online.
putting a steering wheel in.
People are begging for it. Why not? Why not let us buy a couple, just the first ones off the line and drive them? I mean, they look great. It's like the perfect model. You always had a vision for a Model 2, right? Like, isn't it like the perfect Model 2 in addition to being a Cybercab?
Look, the reality is people may think they want to drive their car, but the reality is that they don't.
Well, it seems pretty definitive, no steering wheel from that interview, but what do you think? Let me know in the comment section. One thing that is clear is now that it's moved from engineering to production, we're going to see a lot more activity here at Giga-Texas with Cybercab over the next few months. So switching gears, it looks like the Tesla diner may be coming here to Giga-Texas. Now, recently, Elon Musk had this post where he said both Giga-Texas headquarters and engineering headquarters in Palo Alto will be getting a Tesla diner. Now, where might that be? If you recall, I showed you where the delivery center is looking across to the main factory. On the left, this large field is designated for the Welcome Center. Perhaps this is where we're going to see a Tesla diner built in the near future. Not really sure, but I will continue to watch this as things develop. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, Good morning again here at Giga-Texas, starting another week, first week of November. We're on a beautiful day here on the southeast side, looking at much of the development that's going on with River Road here below us. You can see a lot of that earthwork that has been underway to widen this entire roadway, probably 2 lanes on either direction, and also they've widened that berm here at the bottom of the screen. And with the work that they're doing, I would not be surprised if we don't start seeing preparations for asphalt and finishing up this road very soon. Now, what is interesting is how it terminates here at this location where we're seeing all of the clearing of the trees. And this is pretty substantial if it's just to accommodate a road. So thinking that there's more to it than just the road, probably some new construction that will be taking place. This is a great look with lighting of what this area looks like here today. They are continuing to expand the clearing. You'll see that at the bottom of the screen as they are removing even more trees. Now, this is also part of this location that has been identified as the ecological paradise, open to the public at some point with some venues along this location. So I'm kind of watching this to get an idea of just how much they are going to be clearing and how this may tie into that project that will eventually allow people to be able to come into this location. And I'll keep watching the permits and try to get additional information so that maybe we'll glean a little bit more information about what this is going to be. I'm going to look back at some of the documents for that ecological paradise in this area, see if maybe I can determine some additional information. But certainly the road is going to go through this location and up towards where the battery cathode plant is on the upper right. As we pass over some of these workshops, take a look at the Recycle Center here today. And this recycles all kinds of materials from scrap metal to crates and even vehicles. This is the weigh station at the bottom of the screen where the trucks are weighed before they head off site. And, pretty neat to see all that operation. As we get closer to Robotic Avenue at the bottom of the screen, we'll also see all of the materials that are being stored in this triangular staging lot. Just a lot of pipes, a lot of segments of the water management system, and also other materials. And also we see some gravel kind of stored at the bottom of the screen. Now, as we fly over the old testing and calibration lot and that helicopter pad, I'm going to kind of zoom in here at the superchargers, show you this kind of tent-like structure. If you will look underneath the canopy on the back side near the road, you'll see those black and white items. Those are mobile power wall devices that they're used for power around the area, and I'm pretty sure that they were using these tents as a testing for that, or at least it seems like that's the case. Now, as I keep the zoom in, I'll show you the secondary main entrance, that construction entrance nearby there as they are continuing to do expansion work inside. The big thing that I'm noticing along the entire east side of the factory is the relative lack of any new production equipment that's being delivered and moved inside. In fact, most of the temporary platforms are pretty idle right now, and I take that as another great sign. And as we talked about in the intro with the Cybercab showing up at the In-N-Out Burger out in California, and that indication that they are officially moving it from engineering to production, that may give us some other insight about what is going on inside here and the state of that production line within these walls on that third and second floor. And I think that's really a great sign, since we are basically seeing almost no new deliveries of equipment for production lines here on the east side. So anyway, I hope that that is good news for you. For me, I take it as great news because they have to obviously have those lines and all the equipment set up and doing that final testing, calibration, kind of zeroing it in. Also, with all the hires and training of people, all of that is definitely going on. And to me, it looks like, and from what I'm hearing, is that they are pretty much on the schedule that they want to be at to meet that start of production second half of 2026. So as we fly over the water detention pond here, and we see all 6 of the fans being used today, hopefully that's revising the hardware, or the full self-driving version 14 for the hardware for our AI for cars, especially the Cybertruck, because I know a lot of people are waiting for that and thought it might happen this weekend, but maybe they're doing some additional training right now. With this view, you can tell all of the work that is going on here on the south side of River Road, more of that trenching and pipe installation. Plus, we're going to see a new development now coming up soon that relates to all of that work that's been going on that south side. On the north side here, they're pretty much wrapping up their operations. All of the trenching that was here is being filled in, as you can tell at the center of the screen. Also, that trench that headed over towards the cooling plant is also being filled in, and it looks like we're going to see this wrapped up and be putting more of that asphalt back down on here very soon. Another great sign that this project is progressing pretty well. As we look across River Road, you can kind of get a good sense of that earthwork area where that's all the trenches have been filled in, and where they also have additional trench box work going on right here, kind of in the middle part of River Road. Now, one other thing that I did notice today, and we actually saw it on my previous video when the forms arrived, but coming up towards the center of the screen is 5th Caisson. This one's a little bit smaller, but it has been started here. And as we've talked about before, caissons are formed with this concrete ring, and then they excavate the interior down, and then it sinks all the way down in, and then they repeat. You can see those rebar sticking up out of the top. That indicates that it still has some distance to go. Those are the forms on the left that are being used for the concrete. As I look across the intersection, we can see that this caisson is continuing to have its work on the inside with some of those forms, concrete pours, and you can see some of those the forms on the bottom of the screen. And inside that caisson shows you what that is looking like now, with that big central concrete ring and another one of those forms. Next to it is that excavation with the spreader bars, and kind of a look down inside where you see kind of those circular items. Those are sumps where the pipes go in and help pump out all the water while they're doing the work in there. And we see those concrete vaults on the left that'll be added on here soon. And with that worker standing at the opening, gives you a really good sense of scale of how large this excavation truly is. Now, as I pull away on the right-hand side of the screen on the ground, you'll see more of those yellow spreader bars. Kind of makes me wonder if we're going to see additional work going on, but there they are right there at the bottom right. So I'm going to bring the drone up, kind of reposition around. We'll go over the highway and we'll resume on the other side. Taking advantage of the lighting here to look at this caisson. As we talked about before, this has a tunnel segment that goes to the south underneath the Colorado River, and another one that goes under the drone here under the highway and connects to that caisson that we just saw. Now, as I kind of maneuver the drone here, we look down past the forms on the ground to the bottom, and we see that more of those liners have been kind of placed, and one of the forms is around it, so it looks like there's probably going to be some sort of concrete poured in there. And this is probably about as good of a view as I can possibly give you of what's going on inside, and those two tunnel segments that head off to under the river and under the highway. More of the forms on the ground, and as I pull away, you can see that the work continues to kind of scrape up all of the gravel and prepare it for this site to be kind of decommissioned once all of that rest of that work is completed. And a great view of where all of that equipment used to be, and the gravel being put into those kind of that hill, and probably going to be taken off site here very soon. So I'm going to maneuver over the west warehouse on wheels. We'll take a look at what's going on at the material staging yard by this white tent. Now, as I mentioned at the factory on the east side, there's not a lot of equipment or production items being brought in, and that's because, as you can tell on this material staging yard where it all came from after being temporarily stored, it's pretty much emptied out. Now, we do see some at the bottom left and the left-hand side of the screen, and this may be either for a different project or maybe it's smaller items that can be put in a little bit later. But we also see all of these concrete vault items, which is definitely not production line equipment. So maybe that also indicates that they are kind of swapping out the purpose of this particular site, and they're kind of changing the materials. Now, we do see some production equipment here being kind of laid out in the middle of the screen. Also, all of the green wrapped items around this part of the site. These have been kind of sequestered on this part of the site together. So it kind of tells me that this is most likely destined for a specific part of the factory, but it's just not ready for it yet. And most likely it's not related to the Cybercab. Perhaps maybe it's for a different product, but something that I'll continue to watch, and hopefully when we see it move, we'll get a better idea. Now, they do have a lot of these racking systems stored over here next to the tent. All of the transformers have been moved away. Here's a little bit of different kind of materials being stored. But I don't know, again, if this is because something has changed with what's going on with the castings, or if this is in preparation for future use. But it is nonetheless very interesting to see it stored here. Now, as I bring the drone up and we'll fly over the power lines, this is a great view across this staging yard back to the main factory, and a few things that I do want to show you. First, this large covered structure, which is most likely going to be a workshop. As I zoom in, this gives you an idea of what it looks like inside. Nearby is more of those power pack mobile power stations on the left-hand side of the screen. And also there's a lot of superchargers around this location. So it makes me wonder if that's not all related, and maybe they'll be assembling some of these chargers and power stations in this location. On this area, we pass over the cabinets and other materials that are destined for the 4680 production part of the factory. It does look like there's some new equipment that has been delivered here today, and others are in kind of a preparation mode for moving over to the factory. And this is really good view with lighting of what that looks like. Now, these kind of stands are very similar to what we saw going into Cortex 2 for kind of that false floor next to the West Hall. And I'm wondering if that may be related. Of course, V-type circuit breaker on the bottom and another gantry crane with a heavy lift trailer. And we've seen that last being used at the east side of stamping. As we fly over some more of the materials and the containers, just want to show you where all of the transformers are kind of being grouped together now. And so we're down to 2 locations on the site, this one and then one at the northeast of the battery cathode plant. But the different kinds of transformers here, and I don't know, again, if they're kind of hoarding them together because it's hard to get, or if they are for specific purposes, and that's why there's different ones. But many of them have been leaving the site. As I bring the drone down here, we'll kind of fly along the central part of the outbound lot. The main thing that is noticeable is a lot of the vehicles were transported off site over the weekend, which is normal, and they're starting to increase that inventory again as production comes back up for this week. And I don't know if the shareholders meeting is going to be affecting production much or not, but we'll have to see how that goes. As we fly over the wash rack and the old testing track, we can see vehicles are being lined up, most likely for direct delivery again. And you can see these kind of diagonal parking spots, which are most likely for customer cars. It makes it easy to do that delivery. The Tesla Semi is not here today, but as I kind of maneuver the drone around, we can see that the delivery center is definitely getting ready. We have that track for the kids' Cybertrucks and vehicles coming over to the end-of-line facility. Now I'm going to bring the drone up higher and pull away to the north. I just want to highlight this area below us. This is an area where the Welcome Center is going to be built, and with the announcement of the diners coming here, it may be a great location for it. And you can see where it is in relation to the delivery center, the outbound lot, and of course the main factory. What we're seeing here, I think, is related to the shareholders meeting coming up this Thursday. They've done this before where they put out a bunch of displays. They're using these concrete planters to hold up the tents. Looks like they have a mobile supercharger for display, a display of the solar roof kind of house, and just some more displays here. So it wouldn't surprise me if that is for the shareholders meeting. Of course, by the main entrance and those silver kind of beams around that entranceway, they have the new bollards that have been installed. And of course, here they're working on that gravel in front of where those bollards are. And this is, again, to help with the traffic flow and keeping pedestrians more safe than what we see in the past. Vehicles coming out of the exit point for the factory, and more employees that are waiting for the bus to arrive. And you can say hi to them. As we continue to fly to the north past this exit point for the Model Ys, just a great view of all of the trailers that are brought in from that warehouse on wheels using yard trucks. And again, that's a concept that they use to use the trailers in the warehouse and wheel yards rather than the factory, so that they don't have to dedicate floor space for all of that production material that's used for the vehicles. Now, as I stop here, come up higher to the altitude, I just want to show you what's going on the roof here. Pretty much where the solar panels have been added up to this point, with kind of that underline below the Tesla letters. It just stops here. Really no change, but you can see where they've laid out the unirack mounts where the solar panels will go all along this section. Now, in this northwest corner next to these vents and cooling enclosures, we see the work is continuing to probably repair seams on the roof. And this whole area has had to have roof repairs over the last couple of years. Maybe this is a continuation of that. And just what this north end of that roof kind of looks like as well. Bring the drone back down. We'll be stopping here looking at these racking systems for plastic parts that are coming out of the plastic manufacturing section of the factory. And you can see the bin has got some parts as well. So it looks like they may be dialing in their production line, possibly to help support with the Cybercab production. Because, it's not just the production lines themselves over at that southwest corner, but it's all throughout the factory that they need to be able to support that production of the new vehicle. Here we see two Cybertrucks with the tow trailers and more of the castings. These are all Cybertruck castings, and they're used in the production line. Since they're moving constantly from here, which is the holding point, to the production line itself, just shows me that production of Cybertrucks is definitely continuing, and we saw today a large number of them arrived in South Korea. So I think we're going to see more Cybertrucks in a lot of other markets in addition to just the United States, which I think will be great for the sale number, the inventory, and just with the supply base, keeping that going. Here we see that wall panel has been added back in. It looks like they're maybe doing some grouting and getting ready for the windows to be installed. That's where a temporary platform used to be. Of course, a lot of these castings that we see in the racks around here are for the Model Ys. And as we pass the baghouse filtration plant, we can see the melt center. And both of the furnace loading systems are almost looking the same now. You can see the one on the right where they're doing the assembly. It looks like that big bucket is what they are working on now. But they're really getting close to the point where they'll have two loading systems. And that will help with the recycling that they do of all of that spare material and also the old aluminum alloy wheels. So I'm going to bring the drone over towards the east. And as we pull away, a nice view of the downtown Austin. And I just want to take a look at the temporary trailers that now are operational, and most of the operations that they had just to the north of Tesla Road with the old trailers has been moved here. They have the displays of the Cybertrucks, the old Roadster, and this tent-like structure. This may be playing a role with the shareholder meeting as well. We'll have to see how that goes. As we cross over Tesla Road, I just want to show you the work that is continuing to dismantle all of these trailers. And in addition to that, if you look around the area, you can see how the construction and the earth moving is getting closer and closer. And they need all those trailers gone so that they can continue the construction in this area. Speaking of which, we see a new excavation with conduit at the kind of bottom of the screen. This is the south side of the Cortex 2. Most of the south wall has now been completed and stained. On the right, we see that receiving door and the normal human door next to it. The one on the left in that corner is mostly framed out. We'll just have to see the stain work put in. Now, as I bring the drone down here, I'm going to kind of position so that I can zoom in and give you an idea of what it's looking like here on the west hallway is what this is called. And you can see that they're framing out interior walls. I'm not sure if all of them are permanent, especially the one at the top of the screen, but the ones on the right definitely are. And just to the other side of that steel studded wall is where we had those frames for the false floor. Here is where we are seeing the screw type piers being installed, also risers for electrical on the right, and that'll be helping to power the equipment that's being put in here. We can also see that the screw type piers are extending further to the north along the west side of the building. More of the blue flags on the ground show where more of those screw type piers, which are being stockpiled nearby, are going to be installed, and you can get a really good sense, especially with the workers here, of the scale of this section. And now with it expanding further to the north, and you can see that kind of the lighter color graded material, it'll be interesting to see just how far this actually goes. And you see more of the screw type segments on the left waiting for their turn to be installed, and they're two different diameters as well, so that's probably two different loadings. You can see the kind of pink flags along next to the shadow line at the bottom of the screen. That may indicate we're going to see more of that work continue along the full length of the building. I'm not sure, but they definitely are marking it off for some additional work, and it kind of lines up with some of the pier work that they're doing in the top left of the screen. Great overall view of the work on this west side. Much of the conduit has been in place for the two of the three main entrances into the building, and now they're working on the third one. And we'll get to a new staging yard on the right here in a moment, but I wanted to pull away to the north, kind of show you what's going on the north and the east sides. And I'll bring the drone back down and just look at what's going on here on the north side. Some of the materials that are being stored, some of the pipe segments, of course. And inside, it looks like the concrete slab has almost reached the northern wall. In fact, there's like a cutout right now where they are right in front of that door where they're going to keep working on it. So seeing that the ground slab is almost complete and the entire length of the building is a big item, and that will definitely help them with the equipment installation that's going to be coming. Now the Caisson staging yard has been moved to this side of the site. You see some forms on the ground being stored, the fence being put in, some other items, and some concrete buckets, and just some cleaning off of what looks to be like an item that's used for the concrete on the inside. Pipes are being stored here, and of course with that fenced off section, it kind of gives us an idea what this is going to be for a while. As we pass over this location, you can see that much of the conduit has been in place and the trenches filled over. Now they're working on this branch on the right that'll take the conduit up to that third and the most northern entrance or connection point into the building. Here we can see kind of the network of conduit that extends from the concrete vaults and to the vaults. And this is what's going to be powering the entire site. And that is definitely making a lot of progress. Now, as we pass over some more of the screw type piers on the ground, I wanted to show you the earthwork that is being done to rip up the road that used to be here. Of course, this was the extension of Robotic Avenue that had access to all the trailers. Now that the trailers are almost gone, that's no longer needed, and they can expand the construction site all the way down to that location. Here we see different kinds of gravel have been brought in for this part of the site, some more conduit on the right, and continued work to install the conduit to all of these vaults just to the south of the large underground vault. The connecting vault with the yellow cable connectors or trays doesn't look like there's still any cable being put in yet, but eventually that will be done to connect both together and kind of make the expansion we see on the right and the original one all one giant electrical switchyard, at least connected through the vaults. Here we see work around the concrete slab and the catch basin, also some conduit extending out from that first transformer, and work nearby where the footings are. Of course, we're going to get another transformer in that larger slab pretty soon. We'll see when that actually happens. More materials stored here. Of course, some deliveries, and next to the perimeter fence, which is fully completed now. And as we look along, we can see that much of the steel assembly is definitely taking shape. 4 of the V-type circuit breakers have been installed so far, and there's just a few of the rebar cages for footings left, and they've all been moved over here to this part of the site to clear off room so they can continue the installation of all the steel on this main site. Here at the north, we see a lot more of the steel items have been installed, and a pretty good idea of how the layout of the entire switchyard expansion is going to look. And finally, more of the materials here at the bottom of the screen, waiting for their turn for installation. So I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude, kind of give you a bird's eye view of all of the activity here, and we'll resume over towards the die shop. Hopefully that gave you a really good idea of where everything is located and how it all looks from that higher altitude. Coming back down to a lower altitude, just going to show you the east side of Cortex 2. See this large section of the wall that has filled in that opening, and some work on the ground with a couple of big excavations now next to that perimeter grade beam. In this section, we see this grouping of conduit kind of sticking up out of the ground, and this suggests that we're going to see some more equipment here. Of course, this is what it looks like on the inside. It looks like there are some deliveries of white wrapped items inside the building. So that is great to see. With the slab being done, that will really help. Now, I did notice here that there's an auger at work, and also looks like they're making some piers, almost kind of like geo-piers, where they have that auger make the hole, they put in some gravel, and then it's compacted down. And you can see it's a pretty dense formation here of these geo-piers. So it'll be another thing to watch and see how this develops. You can also tell that another one of those large openings had been filled in with the wall coming in to the left of the screen, or just out of the view, the left of the screen, and another one being worked on here. So ultimately, there's just going to be a few receiving doors on this side of the site, or the building, rather than many, which I was kind of expecting. Now, dropping in on the east side over the wade pit, I'm going to pull to the north just a little. I wanted to show you what's going on with these green transformers. More of them have definitely arrived on site. And this is a great view of just how many of them are here. Of course, this is one of 2 places for transformers now, since they've done the consolidation on that southwest corner. As we get back to the crash testing facility, I'll zoom in and show you what's going on here. A lot of interesting details today. First, we can see 4 Cybercabs that are undercover here. All of them appear to have mirrors underneath the covers, which is kind of a big thing. You think about we're getting closer to the final prototypes, the fact that they have mirrors shows us that they're not the original ones. Here we see a couple more inside the crash test facility, where it looks like they're doing either testing or engineering analysis, or maybe they're doing some disassembly work. But clearly there's a lot of that kind of work going on inside. I'm going to pull back a little bit more. I want to show you that in some of these bins we can see Cybercab parts. Here is a hood, also some seats, and some other interior items. And it looks like this is being stored for future use rather than being ready for throwing away. So quite interesting to see that. You can also see more crates around the site that may be either storing or shipping in Cybercab parts for testing. As we get to the south side of the crash test facility, get a view what's going on inside there, and also what the left-hand side of the crash test facility looks like with all of the vehicles. So that'll be pretty much it for today. I think another wide-ranging flight with a lot of news and information that we talked about in the intro and throughout the entire video. As always, I really do appreciate your support, and I want to say thank you very much for that. And also, just a reminder that the shareholder meeting is coming up in just a few days here. Take care.